What's poppin', people? It's your boy Supreme Latios 14, and today I'm finally here with another installment of Pokemon Unite Deep Dives. Today we're going to be going over Gengar because I have promised you guys this deep dive for the longest time, and I want to apologize that I haven't gotten a chance to get this out because I have been so busy with a lot of projects as well as also been busy with work and such. But I'm finally here today with the Gengar deep dive as I promised. So I might do Zoroark next in the near future, but I haven't really played Zoroark enough to really, or rather, I haven't played Zoroark at all. So obviously, you guys know why. But I'm actually not alone today. As you guys can hear the noise in the background. I'm actually joined by
Yeah.
Kirboi today, as you guys can tell. Now, of course, the reason why I have Kirboi here is because he's actually a Gengar main. So, and of course, what better person to have with me for this edition of the deep dive series than Kirboi because he is a mean Gengar, and I know this from experience, and I've seen him in action,
Yeah.
of course. So yeah, what's up, Kirboi? How's everything?
Doing pretty good. So,
That's good. That's good. Now, of course, recently Gengar did get some nerfs to a couple of its moves here, and it also did get a stat nerf to a special attack. So, although it was only ranges it was ranges to its Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, and its Hex all got range decreased. So, how you feel about that?
hurt. Very.
Very hurt, you say?
Yeah. Ah, not fun.
But do you think it really was a big impact to get? Do you think that those changes were a big change to Gengar, or what do you think?
Luckily, no. No. God.
And we're gonna, of course, talk about all that in this video. So if you guys do enjoy this, if you guys do enjoy this video, and if you guys do enjoy the deep dive series, of course, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, of course, hit that bell. I really do appreciate it. And if there's any Pokemon you guys want me to do a deep dive on after this one, definitely let me know in the comments, and I will definitely get to it as soon as possible. So. Gengar here, as you guys know, is a speedster and is a special attacker, and it is a powerhouse, as you guys already know, because you guys all probably know what Gengar is all about. Gengar is about taking souls. He's about just going in, honestly. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
let's go ahead and talk about his basic attack first before we go into its actual moves. So Gengar's basic attack is actually interesting because it allows Gengar to lunge at an opposing Pokemon when it's a boosted attack. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. Go ahead.
Basically, teleportation. That's usually what it does.
Oh yeah, it's real. I do like the fact that it lunges at the end at the enemy, which is pretty cool. And then of course, its passive is levitate, which when Gengar is not in combat, it gets a movement speed increase, which is pretty cool.
So,
So
basically, Hop Rock. Uh,
yeah, it gives
basically. Or
mhm,
Floatstone.
yeah. It's like a built-in float zone, only without the attack movement. The attack is just more for a speed movement deal. But
Yeah.
it definitely comes in handy, especially if you need to get around to get to places to get objectives, or if you need to get like
Yeah.
farm. You always want to make sure it's always nice to have that little additional speed to help you there to help you, especially if you're not in combat, of course. Anyways,
Especially.
oh yeah. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and dig into the progression, of course. So Gaslit, you start as Gaslit level 1, and then you evolve into Haunter at level 5, and then to Gengar at level 9. So that's the level. That's the levels that you have to work with, of course. And this Pokemon. Now I'm gonna let Kirboi let you guys tell you guys where this Pokemon is the best shines at. Do explain that, Kirboi.
He usually shines in a 1v1. Like,
but
because
but
you're
we're
gonna
talking about.
worry about, like, oh shit.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say. I'm talking about in terms of lane, like top lane, bottom
In
lanes.
terms of lane,
Yeah,
jungle.
jungle.
Shines at jungle.
100%. And why does Gengar shine in jungle best?
Mostly because he does not do well in any lane.
Yeah. Plus, you want to get to your moves as soon as
Yeah.
possible, especially if you
His
want to
moves are
if you go into the
better,
stuff.
like, Yeah,
Hmm.
because Lick and Will-O-Wisp are not really all that good for late at all.
Yeah. And of course, speaking of Will-O-Wisp and Lick, those are the moves you do start with at level 1 and 3. So at level 1, you get a choice between Will-O-Wisp or Lick, which Will-O-Wisp it shoots multiple sinister flames, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon and leaving them burned when it hits. And then Lick just attacks with the user's tongues and then pulls opposing Pokemon towards the user. Now between these moves, what do you usually start with?
I usually start with Will-O-Wisp due to the burn effect.
Makes sense.
Meaning, if I can't kill him, the burn might.
Yeah, yeah. Always have nice to have that little burn damage to help inflict that damage and show them and just make sure that they know that you're coming for them. I guess you could say that.
Yeah,
So and then Lick is cool because you can actually you could pull opposing Pokemon towards you, which is pretty cool. So I think
yeah.
it's definitely pretty cool. And then at level 5, when you evolve into Haunter, you get a choice between Hex and Dream Eater. So Hex, we'll talk about Hex first, and then we'll get into Dream Eater. So this makes the user disappear, move to the designated location, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the area effect when the user reappears. And then if this happens to hit an opposing Pokemon with a status condition, it deals increased damage and its cooldown is reset. And then it makes the user's next basic attack after this move become a boosted attack. And then when you get the upgrade at level 11, it increases the damage dealt by this move. So that's Hex. And then Dream Eater puts opposing Pokemon to sleep when it hits, and if used again while a nearby opposing Pokemon is asleep, the user appears behind the sleeping Pokemon and attacks, restarting the user's HP, reducing the cooldown of Will-O-Wisp, Shadow Ball, or Sludge Bomb. And then the user's next basic attack after this move becomes a boosted attack. If this move knocks out a Pokemon from the opposing team, it gets a cooldown reset, which is pretty nuts. And then at level 11, when you get the upgrade, it increases the amount of damage dealt and HP restored by this move. So between these moves, Kirboi, which do you go with and why?
Mostly, I go with Dream Eater. One, not in the mood to get for someone to say, "You're using the Pokemon that takes no skill." Cap.
But explain about why Dream Eater is so good over Hex.
Dream Eater is really good with Shadow Ball, mostly because of, as you can say, the cooldown thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
Shadow Ball, since we might get onto that next,
yeah,
it
we're gonna get.
decreases special defense. And if you
Mm-hmm.
combine that with Dream Eater, their health is like halfway down already.
Makes sense.
And
Makes
it
sense.
resets on kill. So,
There you go.
hooray.
Yep, and we'll go into more detail on Shadow Ball in just a moment, of course. Now, what about Hex? Like, do you think Hex is definitely
Trash,
not
garbage,
superior?
no skill.
Really? uh,
Yes.
well, it makes sense because you this move is really strong, but you definitely it requires the opposing the targets to have a status condition. So
Yeah.
and I
Which
feel like
can easily be countered.
yeah, especially if you go up against, let's say, a Blissey with Safeguard, which if
Yeah.
you do inflict, if they happen to have a status condition, and if they get a Safeguard up before you get off Hex, you're pretty much losing the cooldown off of the Hex, which is not
Yeah.
great. Not great. Versus Dream Eater, where you're getting like you mentioned, like Kerboy mentioned, it does good. It does a lot of damage, and it combos well with Shadow Ball, which we're gonna go into detail as to why that's the case. And then of course you run, and then it gives the cooldown, and you get a reset on it if it knocks out an opposing Pokemon. So
Yeah.
it's pretty nuts, honestly. Now, when you get to level 7, you have a choice between Sludge Bomb and, of course, Shadow Ball, which we'll talk about Shadow Ball first. With Shadow Ball, as Kerbo mentioned before, it hurls the Shadow Ball. It's pretty much a move that decreases the movement speed and special defense of opposing
Yeah.
Pokemon for a short time when it hits. And then with the upgrade, it increases damage dealt by this move. And then Sludge Bomb it hurls sludge to the designated area, leaving opposing Pokemon poisoned when it hits. And then when you get the upgrade, it increases the poison effect's duration. So Obviously, you want Shadow Ball, you want the combo Shadow Ball into Dream Eater, which, as Kirboi mentioned before, Shadow Ball Dream Eater is just absolutely nuts because
Yeah,
you start off with the Dream Eater to put them to sleep, and then, well, you explain the combo, okay, correct? Because you have more experience,
yeah. So basically, you want to use Shadow Wall first, then Dream Eater. So you can get the cooldown reset on Shadow Wall,
right?
and then because of the special defense lowered, bam, half health. And then you can use Shadow Wall again to finish them off. So kinda nice.
Yep, because basically what it does is when you hit an enemy with Shadow Ball followed by a Dream Eater, their special defense and movement speed is going to be lower to the point where the Dream Eater is going to do a significant amount of damage, or rather, I should say, a severe amount of damage to the point where
Yeah,
you may even get a KO on them because after you use the
yeah.
Dream Eater, after you had used Shadow Ball, you get a cooldown in which you'll be able to fire off another Shadow Ball, which is actually pretty crazy. And that's why Gengar has been an absolute monster with that particular moveset. Like there are people that use Hex Sludge Bomb as well, but I think personally Shadow Ball Dream Eater is definitely way more superior because of the damage and the effects that it has together. It's insane. And of course, Kirboi can definitely tell you guys about it himself because he's been playing
Yeah.
this build for the longest time.
And though Dreamer can technically be countered by, let's say, Full Heal or Blissey, it doesn't
Hmm.
get rid of the second effect of Dream Eater, where
Which
you
is
can actually damage them.
you still do the damage, and if I recall, you still
Yeah,
get the cooldown and the reset if you get the knockout.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's that crazy. Plus, versus if you go with Hex Sludge Bomb, while yes, if they have a status condition, you can continuously keep spamming Hex like it's no tomorrow. But as we mentioned before, if they have a way to counteract the status condition, that's when Hex becomes a little bit less more valuable because then it's like, oh no, and then Gengar will be in a tough position because then you have to wait for the cooldown of your Hex to come back
Yeah.
before you can get it off again. Versus if you
In
have the
other
Dream Eater Shadow
words,
Ball. Hmm.
you're screwed.
Exactly.
Not coming back from that.
Yeah. Now versus with Shadow Ball Dream Eater, you'll definitely guarantee yourself at least a very nice committable amount of big amount of damage with that set. It's really nuts, honestly, and that's what makes Gengar just so freaking strong. It's insane. And speaking of Gengar, when you evolve at level 9, you get its Unite move, and it's called Phantom Ambush, which makes the user jump into the designated area and enter stealth with increased movement speed. And then, if you use the move again, it deals damage to opposing Pokemon in the area effect and decreases their movement speed for a short time. So, what do you think about Gengar's Unite move overall?
The one thing I like about it is that you can still use your other moves before you use the actual ambush part of it.
Oh, really? I
So
actually
let's
didn't know that.
yeah.
I gotta
So
explain.
Dream Eater, Shadow Ball, Dream Eater. There we go. Then
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Ball again, and then you can use the Unite
Oh yeah.
and deal damage. That's kind of an insta kill.
Yeah, because after the second Shadow Ball, they will have lower special defense, and then
Yeah,
imagine if you catch them with the Unite move as well. They're just gonna straight up die
they're
really quickly,
they're dead.
or they're tanky, or they're
Yeah,
tanky. They're still gonna take at least what 80-90% of their health gone.
yeah, at least that much. Like a huge chunk, if not dead.
Yeah, it'll do a lot of damage overall, honestly. So I think honestly, with this Pokemon, despite the nerfs that it has, I still think Gengar is a really strong Pokemon. Now, is there anything, of course, you want to mention that when it comes to using Gengar, you want to say before we wrap this up?
I always tell myself not to fight a team like a group of three, but can't seem to listen to that advice.
So, in other words, you want to make sure that you don't engage in a 1v3 fight majorly. You want to make sure you catching
Basically.
Now, would you say Gengar is a Pokemon that you would recommend to like to players, of course, if you had to buy it? Would you say it's a Pokemon
Yeah,
you recommend?
yes. Especially if you know how to aim.
Yeah, if you're able to aim
Especially.
its moves, it definitely gets the job done, honestly. And Gengar has been an absolute monster for the longest time, and honestly, it's just really good. Now, if you want, Kurt, you could also explain. You could also mention your build if you like to your viewers, or would you rather keep that a secret?
Nah, I kid you not. This Gengar, my Gengar has the most basic build.
All
It's
right.
got what's it called? Choice specs,
Mm-hmm.
wise glasses,
Yep.
and fuck, I forgot the other one.
What like Showbell?
Yeah, Shell Bell, thank you.
Ah, okay. Conveniently enough, that's actually the same build I was running on Gengar before.
Yeah,
So I can see why because you want to get as much special attack damage as possible, and then Shell Ball giving you that little cooldown as well too.
and my emblem set that like pairs really well.
Yeah, obviously you 100% want green and black albums, right?
Yes, definitely.
There you go. There you go. That's a definitely good recommended build. I'd say with Gengar. Um, so I'm not gonna lie. When I played Gengar, I actually didn't even know that Dream Eater actually also healed as well too. I didn't even know about the healing part, but all I've seen with Gengar is that people use it and then they just do an OD amount of damage. Honestly,
Yeah,
well, it makes sense as to why because it's just so strong. It just tears through anything like it's nobody's business. All right, guy. Mhm. I'm sorry.
sorry, I was just laughing, at
Fair
this
enough.
amazing win that I just got.
So yeah, that's pretty much Gengar, guys. Yeah, I think with even despite the nerfs, I still think Gengar. It's a really cool and strong speedster overall, and I think it's a Pokemon that you definitely should try if you want to try something a little nice and powerful, of course.
Definitely.
Yep. So I just want to say thank you, Kirboi, of course, for joining me for this edition of the Pokemon Unite deep dives, and I hope you guys,
No
it,
problem.
yep, and I hope you
Oh,
guys
no
enjoyed
problem, bro. My pleasure.
for sure, for sure. Like I said, I chose you because you know we seen you play Gengar, and you're an amazing Gengar. I can tell you that much, 100%. All right, so with that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this edition of Pokemon Unite Deep Dives. Of course, if you guys do enjoy these deep dives, let me know which Pokemon you guys want me to do a deep dive on next, and I'll get that out to you guys as soon as possible. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Kerbo, for joining me, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.